start the clock countdown if you want. Anyway, so we have with us 4 panelists. 2 of them are in dry bulk shipping. One of them, Columbia Shipmanagement, is both an owner and an operator, and then IFCHOR GALBRAITHS is a major global S&P broker. Therefore, we will be able to really cover global shipping from a very comprehensive perspective. I would like to ask each panelist to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they do, what each company does. So maybe Mark, I can start with you.
Hi, everyone. It's my honor to be here. My name is Mark Yang. I'm the CEO of Cetus Maritime. We're in the very basic shipping, handy-sized dry bulk. The company owns about 30 vessels. We both own and operate our vessels. For the size of the operation, we have about 50, including the 30 we own and the about 20 we charter in. We have a commercial office all over the world, about like 7 offices all over the world, and we have a technical management business based on here, and our headquarters is Hong Kong.
Thank you. Maybe I can go to Stamatis to complete the ship owner cycle.
Good morning, everybody, and Nicolas, congratulations, and also to Pudong for bringing together this amazing conference once again. I'm very honored to be here. My name is Stamatis Tsantanis. I am Chairman and CEO of Singhai Maritime Holdings, and I'm also founder, Chairman, and CEO of United Maritime Corporation. Both of these companies are listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange. The ticker is SHIP and UC. We operate a combined fleet of 28 vessels, mostly Cape sizes. We have a fleet of 23 Cape sizes and 5 Kamsarmaxes and Panamaxes, so we are one of the world's largest independent Cape size owners, with a cargo carrying capacity of about 4.5 million deadweight tons. We come every year to Shanghai because we strongly believe that the Chinese market is fundamental and critical for us, and we do a lot of business consistently with China and Pudong especially. So thank you.
Demetris, thank you.
Good morning all again. So I'm Demetris Chrysostomou. I'm the Asia Managing Director for the Columbia Group. As Columbia Group, we have activities across the maritime. So first of all, we also ship owning about 70 plus vessels, mainly containers, heavy lift, multi-purpose, and tankers. We also have a heavy lift, multi-purpose project cargo line company called AL, which is operating a number of heavy lift, multi-purpose vessels. Of course, Columbia Shipmanagement is the core business. We're managing over 400 vessels. We are involved in cargo vessels, luxury mega yachts, and then also offshore, and then also cruise vessel management, where I believe on tonnage we're probably now the largest third-party manager of cruise vessels. And then we have a maritime platform of many different services. So truly our group is an integrated platform of maritime services rather than just a ship manager. Thank you.
Thank you. And Manu, you recently concluded the merger. Tell us about your operation and the range of your services.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thank you, Nicolas, for including me in this great panel, and of course I'm very honored, and I'm glad you recognize that you always need a broker in the mix, so glad to be here. So I'm the co-CEO of IFCHOR GALBRAITHS. IFCHOR GALBRAITHS, most commonly now known as IG. It's the result of a merger between a dry bulk specialist, IFCHOR, and a tanker and S&P specialist, GALBRAITHS. We have a long history, both companies, the longest being the one of GALBRAITHS for more than 100 years. IFCHOR is essentially 50 years in the business, and I'm very fortunate to co-lead this company, which is 350 people. We are, thanks to the support of the clients, we're running around 7,000 transactions a year in multi-segments, tankers, dry, also some gas lately, and of course in all the specialized segments. And we are supported in this by having invested in people, in research, and in sustainability. So Luckily, this is a good place to be now, and we're hoping to be able to do more with China, where we have been present for a couple of decades already. So thank you again, Nicolas.
Well, thank you to all four of you for being here. And one of the main reasons for us to be in Shanghai is because we all, all of you do business with China already. And as I mentioned in my opening speech this morning, China is a powerhouse in the global economy, and also China has been the locomotive for shipping. So if I can go down the line, if I can ask each one of you, maybe again Mark, Stamatis, and then Demetris and Manu, what has been your involvement with the Chinese market? How much, what is your experience doing business in China? And I know you have done business in many areas. So maybe Mark, I can start with you again.
Okay. I believe many of the guests know Cetus pretty well. We were actually build up our business here, and we grow from here. And today, our technical management, that is our only operational basis here. So my experience with the Chinese market and with my Chinese counterparty are all very good. We have experience to working with, like say, Mr. Xu of Sumac, by build vessels there, become partners there on owning the vessels. And we have many customers also come from China. And for the emerging market, China actually is one of the best emerging market in my experience. The counterparties are very honest in respect to their contract terms. The market itself is very deep and with so much diversity. So it's almost perfect with everything except the one problem, which is very, very competitive. So if you want to provide a shipping business to China, you have to compete with your counterparty down to the last cent. And like it or not, that is one of the reasons for the cargo formation. Cetus is probably only 20% of the cargo is come from China, just because of this market. China is a very important piece of the global economy, but how to get the best benefit of the China growth is a big questions for everyone, including us.
Stamatis, maybe we can...
Of course. Our relationship with China is multifaceted. First of all, we transport to China millions of tons of raw materials per year, consisting of iron ore, coal, and bauxite. These are all critical raw materials for the production of aluminum and steel, which of course are very critical for infrastructure drive globally. So we transport millions of tons of raw materials to China every year. Second, and also very important, is the repairs and upgradings we do here in China for our vessels. Ever since 2018, we have commenced a drive to upgrade our ships, and the Chinese shipyards that we cooperate with have been very critical in this kind of innovation. So China is not only known for these amazing new building ships that they make, but also the shipyards are also very equipped and very experienced in the upgradings of the vessels, and that actually help to make the vessels more efficient and reduce the emissions. Third, and also very important, is the fact that we source a lot of our financing in China, and we have been consistent throughout the years to source high-quality financing through various leasing formats from the Chinese market, which we're very happy for, not only in respect of the cost, but also in respect of the relationship. To have stability in your financing in good times and bad times have been cornerstone for our development and growth, which has been almost 3 times the last 5 years. And having Chinese financing partners on our side is very important for our growth. Thank you.
And Demetris, you've had quite a presence in China.
Yes. So as a group, we've been fortunate to be involved with China since 1984. So in 1984, our chairman built his first reefer vessels for his own account, actually I think here in Shanghai. So that was our start in China. Since then, we've built over 200 vessels in China for our chairman, but also for our clients. We actually have For our chairman, we actually have new buildings at the moment in China, quite a number. We have container feeder vessels, heavy lift multi-purpose vessels, and some MR tankers, all at CSCC shipyards. Then we come to our heavy lift multi-purpose company, AL. They have a substantial office in Shanghai. Very important as a country for the cargo imports and exports for the heavy lift multi-purpose company. And then we have also been fortunate, coincidentally this year is also the 10-year anniversary of Columbia Shipmanagement Shanghai. So we started in 2014. We are now seeing the last few years quite an expansion of vessels in management for Chinese clients. We even have our first Chinese flag under management, so we're quite happy with that. We've also, China, I think we also have to talk a little bit about experience. So China is a good place to do business, but I think you also have to be smart enough that you need to have local partners. So like we saw this morning, Singhai and Terence are our partner in China for the ship management. And this is an important part of future growth. Then we also see major development on the cruise vessel industry here. This is a sector where we see growth for our company. Currently, we are also managing the largest cruise vessel built in China for Adora. And then ultimately, of course, China is also an important place for crew and training. So we are in the process of developing our own manning agency, of course, again in partnership with Terence, and also looking at investing in training centers in China. So China overall for us has been an important place, is an important place, and I think undoubtedly will be one of the most important places in the future to come.
Thank you. And Manu, if you can also tell us about your presence here.
Yes, well, let me give just a brief overview. I was born essentially in shipping because my family has been in shipping, and I saw China evolving together with the activity of what my father, my uncle were doing back in the 90s already. And then as IG, of course, would suffice to say that we have more than 20% of the broking force which speaks Mandarin, right? So we have been present in Beijing, where I actually happened to open the office in 2004, and GALBRAITHS on their side have been present in Asia through Hong Kong for various decades. We obviously are very reliant on China through the Capesize activity, which is pretty a core business for us, and also obviously you saw Bruno by before through the tanker activity now. So China is very important, has been very important even back before the super cycle of 2003, 2008 for shipping. It was already starting to come up as a very important place, but now it's essentially the central place for shipping. And of course, the temperature of China is the temperature of shipping. So we have to be very careful, and we accompany this as IG like a marriage, right? In good times, bad times. And of course, I would say in the coming decade comes actually a very challenging and very interesting and important moment for China and shipping, because the economy is in transition, and we will have to see how that transition translates into shipping needs. And of course, that's going to be a big topic, and it's a topic we already study very heavily with our research in order to anticipate some of the moves that may happen in shipping in the coming few years.
Thank you. So going back to the tremendous presentation of Stephen Gordon, he made a comment of how well China is positioned exactly to capture the momentum that global shipping is going through today. And really, when you think about China, as you all described, you have the cargo, incoming, outgoing, you have the shipyards, you have the financing, you have the marine technology. I mean, you really have everything that pertains to to the needs of the shipping industry that can be provided here. So it's an amazing combination in the cluster. And moving on to our forum, what we are trying to do is we're grateful to Exim Bank and Ms. Dong from the Pudong government for working together. We are trying to bring together international leaders like the ones we have here, and also on the other panels with Chinese leaders. So really, I think our forum is also a very true proof of the interaction between the international and the Chinese shipping communities along the main axis of activity like financing, shipbuilding, and cargo. Let's now move to a topic that maybe everybody's a little bit sick to hear about, green shipping. Every conference, we talk about green shipping, but at the end of the day, it is a topic we cannot avoid because it's here, and therefore I'd like to ask all of you, Mark, actually I remember Mark was, you were part of our first conference in Shanghai quite some time ago.
Quite a certain time ago.
And of course, Stamatis has been a steady presence. Anyway, I'd like to ask the two ship owners first, how are you addressing green shipping? I mean, you have to do something, regulations, charterers, demands, and so on. So what are you doing? And then I'll go to Demetris being a global ship management and to Manu, who has a very different perspective. So let's hear from, maybe Stamatis, we can start from you now. How are you addressing green shipping? What does it mean for you?
Well, it's a great opportunity because right before I came to Shanghai, I was in Tokyo for the Global Maritime Forum. We have watched all these ambitious, reductions for CO2 targets that have been set over the last 10 years, especially the last 5 years, to be revised. I don't know if that's good news or bad news, but I believe that the industry has been extremely optimistic in trying to reduce the CO2 emissions and the global greenhouse gas emissions too soon. And the reason why I say too soon is because, most importantly, we have not really discovered yet the so-called vessel of tomorrow or the fuel of tomorrow. So people are still trying to deliver, the first engines that will burn ammonia or the first engines that will burn alternative fuels. And I'm not really referring to the dual fuel and LNG solutions, because these are transitionary solutions. So they are not here to stay apparently over the course of the next 20 to 30 years. So everybody's a little bit skeptical about the implementation of all these ambitious projects that we have been hearing for quite some time now. Just to give you an idea, the dry bulk fleet right now consists of 13,000 vessels. It's kind of impossible to replace when you already have, as the previous speaker said, an order book of $2.1 trillion right now. It's kind of impossible to have any aspiration in replacing all the ships with something that does not exist anymore. So we have to be patient, and we have to live with the current fleet that we have right now and try to make this current fleet as more efficient as possible. One of the solutions that have been the prevailing solution is the most simple one, and that is to slow down the fleet. So slowing down the fleet by itself has very beneficial impact, because you were and we were ordered by our charters to speed up our vessels, go faster at speeds at sometimes 14 knots, to arrive at the next destination and then wait for 30 days or 40 days. And that, in my mind, is completely inexplicable. Why speed up something to emit all these additional CO2 emissions and then arrive at the place? So all these things now are trying to become more rationalized. Second, and most important after the slowdown, is the installation of energy-saving devices. By installing energy-saving devices on board of the existing vessels, you can make the ships far more economical. And when I say far more, I'm talking about an investment of, let's say, $12 to $15, $18 million for a dual fuel engine, the incremental investment, in order to save 20% GHG emissions. Sometime with a smaller investment, some to the region of about $2 million, you can make the ships almost 15% more economical. So there's no point right now in trying to reinvent the wheel when you can basically make the existing vessels far more economical by a number of proven solutions that they exist for decades now. Number one, telemetry in electronic systems. That's by itself, make the vessel way more optimum, the voyage way more optimum, and that creates a big efficiency. Number two, paints. We have seen studies and we have tested on board of our ships that the new generation of silicone paints make the ships sometimes 7 to 10% more economical just by applying the right coating on board the ship. And then all these little devices that they don't cost so much money, but they make a big difference. So we do all that and we implement all that in all of our Seanergy vessels, and we have been pioneers in implementing energy-saving devices and all these new technologies. The only thing I must state here, as I mentioned before, about the alternative fuels and what's going to come in the future, speaking from a dry bulk perspective, we are not convinced about the engines of tomorrow. Maybe there are some testing phases, but we certainly don't want to be the first ones to test it. But also we're not convinced about the safety of all these things, because right now you already have too many things falling on the hands of our capable seafarers, and I'm not sure whether on dry bulk ships we have the capacity, the expertise, and the knowledge of people to operate alternative fuels that may prove to be highly volatile and very dangerous in the future. So thank you.
By the way, Stamatis, I remember that in one of our conferences, you said that green shipping is both a destination and a journey. That
long journey.
It's a long, yeah, exactly. And you can't get there in a day. It's a journey, and it's a long journey. So thank you for the details. Mark, maybe I can turn to you now.
Yeah, just now, the CEO of Singhai, who mostly is the Cape-sized vessels, said he has a lot of challenges trying to get into the goal in the one step, which for us, which are the handy-sized ships, smaller, are trying, our ships call in all different ports. So the solution is even more complicated to us. But nevertheless, we did spend a lot of money to retrofitting our ships, including the paint, including the milk deck, and all these new technologies, and slow steaming. All these things helps, and I can see actually the total fuel consumption has dropped by average about 15% in the past 2 years. Because our vessels call to Europe a lot, our Hamburg office is in charge of our Europe Atlantic side of operation, commercial operations. So our vessels also meet like a EU ETS, and also we are get ourselves prepared for the few EU which is coming.
Yeah.
So we also try the several situations by using the biofuel. And at this stage, I think the biofuel is a pretty good solutions with the price now is available in the market, etc. But to get yourself ready for using the biofuel, it also take a lot of the management focusing and try to get all the people's technical, commercial all together. So again, I also agreed there's a no one-stop solution. It seems, particularly on the dry bulk side, we just need to working day to day and trying to look at all the detail to make that work.
Thank you. Demetris, turning to you now. You're managing a lot of ships in across the board. You're dealing with a lot of owners, and even though everybody talks about fleet renewal and the fuels of the future and so on, at the end of the day, you have to deal with the fleet in the water today, because that's what is there today. That's what trades today. So if you don't do all these energy-saving devices, voyage optimization and so on, and Stephen mentioned in his presentation all these retrofittings, are your ships going to be penalized from a trading perspective? I mean, what do you advise your clients, given that you're managing ships of all ages? And
yeah, well, I mean, I'll answer your question. The second question.
Yeah.
First part, just also to give a little bit of insight and also to agree with what Stamatis has said. So if I look at our owning side of our business, and we have new buildings at the moment, we haven't committed to any type of fuel. So we have building new vessels now, of course, with all possible energy-saving devices, eco-friendly engines and so on. And we have at least decided on methanol ready for the future, whatever that may mean. But I think, like Stamatis said, it's even us as a group have not taken a position yet on what may be the future. So I think there's still a lot of time. It's a long, like you said, it's a long journey. If you come to the ship management point of view, I mean, our job is, and it was also very well described by Stamatis, I mean, our job is actually how do we manage the vessels which exist. We are managing vessels of all ages, all kind of advancements or historical machinery on board. And our job is, of course, to manage these vessels in a economical way, which also complies with, let's say, decarbonization objectives and how do we make these vessels more efficient. We are not in a position, I mean, we're not giving advice to our clients because these are things you have to comply with. So, you know, this is a push factor. It's not voluntarily. So our job is how do we actually achieve satisfying our clients who come with all these different assets of different ages, different types, different trading patterns, with varied regulation in geographical areas, and how do they comply with that? So that's our job, and that's a big challenge for a ship manager because we have to be an expert in everything, and that, as you can imagine, is quite difficult. Luckily, we are of a certain size and of certain resources where we can comply with that. So we've actually spent a lot of money the last few years in technology. You know, the biggest tool we have available today is technology. So we've spent a lot on our performance optimization center, which is 24/7 manned, so it's a combination. Of course, we've come up with solutions which don't need high investment for collecting data on board, whether it's manual, semi-automated, or automated. And then, of course, using AI to analyze data and so on. We've come with different modules such as lube oil, lube link, bunker link, engine link. These are all tools on how we achieve efficiencies, and of course all efficiencies result in better performance and less emissions. Of course, with the new regulations that have come and are coming, such as EU ETS and Fuel EU, and of course also the importance of CII and so on, we have developed Emissions Link. So Emissions Link is a tool which helps our clients in terms of meeting the regulations, but also reporting, so collecting data. We're also providing consultancy to our clients on how to meet these regulations. So, and then on top of that, you need to look at the crew. So, you know, all this technology and all these regulations aren't achievable without training the crew, making crew aware of what these regulations are, and equipping the crew to be able to deal with these technologies, but also the targets that you have on board the ship and operate the ships in an efficient way. So this is what we can do as a manager. We can manage the current situation, and at the same time we have to be ready for any new technology that will come, and make sure that our crew and our superintendents are equipped with the knowledge to actually cope with those technologies.
Thank you. Manu, you are dealing with owners across the board. You work with them both for dry dockings, retrofittings, and also for new buildings. So what do you see in the market? And
yeah, no, let me actually answer this, Nicolas, and the topic, let's say, with two parts of answers. The first part is what we do to serve the industry on that, and then the second part is what I think and what we think about green generally. So the first part is our way of investing is we don't invest in assets or in retrofitting measures. We invest in people. So we have 4 people who are totally dedicated to sustainability, and we have 2 main services, which are, one is through Maritime Carbon Solutions, which is a platform where you can track and estimate the carbon emissions. We have done this in cooperation with BV and Orbit MI, which is a part of BV. And the second part is the full advisory and brokerage services of the carbon side. So on that side, we have done, for instance, a couple of large projects with owners who have multiple ships, want to retrofit ESD, very similar to what Seanergy and Stamatis has spoken about Seanergy. And we have managed to transform, and we're actually in the midst of it now, to transform those savings into carbon credits. Now, these are sort of projects that we do because the people dedicate and really listen to what the clients want to do. Now, the second part of the answer is, what do we think about green, and how do we adapt to it? So first of all, I'm very much on board with what has been said, which is very common sense. And I can totally proof talk what Stamatis has said. He was actually one of the first owners, I remember probably 3 or 4 years ago, asking us as well, to engage with the charters about fitting ESD and getting, the cost to be shared if possible, which multiple charters are doing today. So they are accompanying this path to green. Green, let's not forget, green is not just a trendy word for the next few years. Green is a very long path, which probably we will not even witness the completion of throughout our career. I hope to be retired before. But the point is, it will take many ways and various paths to get to a totally decarbonized world in shipping. First of all, I think shipping is already doing a lot, and we are advising clients under various angles. First of all, the ESD surely, as Stamatis said, is the best way today to be very tangible, concrete about it, and it's doable, it's economically viable, and it's something that now is becoming widespread. Very, very positively, I would say. Secondly, dual fuel. Well, dual fuel is a great, a great thing, though the hard facts are that it works only in probably a very, very small percentage of the projects. It works only when you have dedicated trades, when you have dedicated charters who are ready to, pay what requires to be paid, in order to absorb the cost of the technology over 15 years of project or 10 years of project sometimes. So we are engaged in a number of negotiations, and I can tell you these are the hardest negotiations, and not even because the people have different ideas. It's simply because the maths, as my colleague Bruno said before, the maths are very difficult to justify, right? So I would say these are the ways we're exposed, and I would say as a small conclusion, clearly the path is ESD, the amelioration of the fuels as well, which we don't mention enough. Every year the fuels quality, ameliorates of 2%, 3%. So that slowly in time will make sure that the entire shipping industry is becoming greener together with the owners investing in ESD.
So from our discussion, which have been very interesting, what I get is that first of all, you brought in the point of the charters. And charters are vitally important. And at the end of the day, it's very good for every charter to request that the ship owner is very green, but they can contribute to helping the ship owner become green. And that should be a shared exercise. The second thing is, from our discussion, the current fleet, you have no choice, you have to retrofit. If you have to comply with the requirements of the market, regulations, and so on. And when it comes to new fuels, well, I think Stamatis put it, we don't know about the engines. We don't know really the ultimate fuels. And then Stephen had this amazing statistic about the port infrastructure. So how many ports around the world can deliver these new fuels? So all these things, I think, are creating a fairly challenging picture. But now let's conclude our panel with if you can, each one of you, give us a little bit of an outlook for your sector. We can start maybe with the dry bulk sector with Stamatis and Mark, with the global economy, how it's growing. I think we can refer back to what Stephen was giving us in his presentation. Also, we have the China stimulus plans that have been announced, which can be hopefully beneficial for the market. So what is your take on dry bulk? You're both in different sides of the market.
You want to start, Mark?
Okay, I'll start. First, I just have I have 2 points of my observation. First is I do believe in the dry bulk, particularly in the smaller sectors, the consolidation is going to happen. We already heard a lot of that, and we are going to hear more and more. Actually, Cetus have been growing to this stage, go through a non-stop consolidation effort in the past 2 years. And we are looking at the same opportunity because for the new regulation coming to the market, the small and individual owner will be hard to survive or do well. The second part is about the stimulus, and I do believe the Chinese government stimulus is going to come into the market. It can potentially reverse the distressed real estate market, which we're suffering for more than 4 years now. But in my observation, I don't think that this stimulus can happen as quick or as immediate effect like what we have experienced or what we see in 2009 when the 4 trillion RMB package is through into the market. This time the package seems much bigger, but unfortunately the confidence of the Chinese consumer is far away from getting ready to follow the trend. And the Chinese government need to find a way to get all the people is start changing their confidence to follow the investment, to back to the market, to buy things again. If that is not going to happen, it will take for long time for the Chinese government to make that happen. So when and how the market phenomena is going to change is still wait to be seen. But I'm confident that the things will happen and the atmosphere will change.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, I'm very optimistic about the state of the market for the Capesize segment. And the reason is, the main reason is the fact that we have the lowest new building order book of the last 20 years. So right now we have an aging Capesize vessel fleet. And even if anyone decided to put a massive order of 10 or 50 or 100 ships, nothing is going to be delivered for at least another 3 years. So supply is limited. We have to live with the existing fleet, which of course, the effective fleet growth is going to be reducing year after year. Demand, actually, we strongly believe that it has been a very healthy market, despite the housing crisis in China. That may have been a blessing in disguise. We have seen actually iron ore, coal and bauxite imports in 2023, that was the peak of the crisis and also the peak of inflation, actually going up. So we're talking about hundreds of millions of tons of additional cargo in China, and also the steel production and the finished steel exports also rising. So demand has been extremely good despite all this bad news about the housing market the last couple of years. Supply of ships has been limited and will continue to be limited. So I'm very confident that we are right now in front of some historically strong fundamentals for the Capesize market, especially for the next 2 or 3 years. The economy is starting to get better and better in China. Stimulus will come into effect, whether it's slower or faster. We don't really care. We see China as a fundamental producer of almost 56% of the global steel production, and that's a massive requirement for the global infrastructure growth. And at the same time, as I mentioned before, supply is very limited. So fundamentals are very strong, and we're very optimistic about the fate of the Capesize market in the short term, medium term.
Thank you, Stamatis. Demetris, turning to you now. Ship management has become so complicated with all these technical requirements, regulatory requirements, and so on. So how can, you need massive investments, as you pointed out, in technology, infrastructure, and so on. So how can a small or medium owner compete?
That's a good question. Fortunately or unfortunately, is actually an opportunity for the large ship management companies because it will force a lot of the smaller ship managers, but also a lot of the smaller ship owners who manage their own vessels to consider outsourcing. But what we do, like I mentioned before, we're not just a ship manager, we are a maritime platform. So what we do, we have a lot of value-added services. So all these things I mentioned, like performance optimization and emissions link, all these services, we offer these services to the market as standalone services, which means the smaller to medium-sized ship manager or ship owner can actually take these services individually as they need to actually fit into their own in-house management. Therefore, they get the benefit of the mass and the volume that we have, and they get the benefit of the technology that we've invested in without them having to invest in the technology. So I think, for us, we see it both sides. We, of course, will see more ship management come to us, but at the same time, we see a new opportunity where we offer our services, our value-added services to the market, and there will be a demand for that because of the complexities there is for the smaller to medium-sized managers to comply.
Thank you. And Manu, concluding with you, I wanted to ask you, we've heard that shipyard capacity is fully booked for quite some time. At the same time, you have huge demand for retrofitting. Stephen Gordon mentioned in his presentation that China is the only country expanding shipbuilding capability. So what are you seeing in the S&P and new building market?
Yes, let me tackle it quickly because I know we're almost out of time. Though I would say certainly shipyard capacity is a little bit of a concern for us. We think it won't have an immediate effect, though certainly it is, and it is not as bad as it used to be with green fields and green yards coming up. But certainly we have seen in the last months much more of a push approach to sell slots, and that is not great for the market. However, you need also a strong market and a very stable geopolitical environment for people to really push the button and order, which is not happening at the moment, let alone still the technical debate about what kind of engine to go for, which I think now is a little bit set aside. I would say, and bouncing on this and what Stamatis has said, I think we have two main elements here. One is the consolidation of the Chinese market generally, which will provide enough trade flows to this market in the coming years. We believe this. We think it's going to be bumpy for the next 6 months, but afterwards it might be actually that the market will provide good opportunities. And secondly, the stimulus will provide in time, if the money is well used and dedicated to private households rather than market operators, will provide the strength to the economy and to the market. So, but I would say the concern of new buildings is not an immediate concern. It's something that we probably will have to see in 27, 28 when the slots are actually deliverable.
Well, thank you very much. We run out of time. We had a great panel. I'd like to thank Mark, Demetris, Manu, and Stamatis. Thank you very, very much for a great panel, and above all, thank you for attending it.